They told me I was invisible, just another face lost in the chaos. For a second, I almost believed it. The flickering neon outside filters through a cracked window, casting broken patterns across a battered photograph resting on the table. The smell of stale coffee lingers, mixed with the distant hum of city streets, faint but relentless. My hand trembles as I reach out, fingers brushing the glass, an empty vessel catching the dim light. Do we chase validation so fiercely that we forget to see ourselves? The ache of rejection cuts deep, sharper than I expected, exposing the fragile desperation beneath my resilience. I fought so hard to be seen, but for what? And yet, here I am, still standing, still trying. This moment, this quiet pain. It's the ache we all hide but never really outrun. In this city, where the skyline promises promise and cuts deep, I wonder, how many are living just like me, wrapped in shadows of what we're told we should be, yet silently craving what we already are? We chase approval, hoping it will fill the void that only we can truly understand. But maybe, just maybe, if we lean into what makes us raw enough that everyone else wants to hide from it, we can find something real, something worth fighting for, not in the eyes of the world, but within ourselves. Because isn't it weird how our worth often feels tethered to the approval of strangers, while the truth of who we are quietly waits in the silence, waiting for us to listen? The city sleeps but never forgets. The noise in the background, the silence in the heart. And in that quiet, I ask myself, when did I stop believing in my own worth? When did I lose track of what I knew all along? The strength it takes to stand alone, even in a crowd. Maybe it's not about proving yourself to others. Maybe it's about finally reclaiming that spark that nobody else can take. And if we do, if we really do, we might discover that all this chaos, all this rejection, was just the beginning of a different kind of story. One where you're not chasing validation. You are the validation. The room's dark wood and inherited oil paintings whisper stories of old money and legacy, snapshots frozen in time, where discipline and appearances ruled everything. No one mentioned I arrived uninvited, my entrance a quiet ripple in the otherwise polished surface. Emily, 2 days ago, had slipped a message. He retires Saturday. Come if you can stomach it. I shouldn't have come. But somewhere deep down, a battered part of me still clung to hope, just a glimmer that I'd be recognized even if only for a moment. Not loved, not accepted, just a seat at the table I felt was mine. My fork scraped loudly on the plate, breaking the tense silence. Vivian's eyes flicked my way. I forced a smile. Brandon leaned back, voice casual but pointed. Met a Marine major last week. Tough, covered in medals. You'd have liked him, Mom. Emily's grip on her glass tightened. Vivian chuckled softly. Harper, have you ever thought about settling down, finding something to give your life structure, away from all these titles? I said nothing. What was there to say that wouldn't be turned against me? I swallowed the burn in my throat, counting desperately toward the exit when the doorbell suddenly rang, an interruption I wasn't expecting this late. Nearly 10 p.m. No one else was supposed to be there. Brandon hesitated to rise, unsure if he should act, wings of uncertainty flickering across his face. From the hallway, Davis, our longtime butler, shuffled in, his shoulders tense. Someone's at the door, he whispered, requesting Ms. Harper. Brandon chuckled, a brief, nervous laugh. A secret admirer? Vivian's brow furrowed. Who is it? Davis paused, voice milky with hesitation. Mr. Nathan Cross. And just like that, everything stopped. The clink of silver, the air itself. He appeared moments later, tall, stoic, military haircut sharp as a blade, a steel gray suit fitting him too well for it to be off the rack. So much history, so many unspoken battles in that room. Was this just a visit, or something more? an echo of truths I'd spent years suppressing. The room was thick with silence, tension almost a tangible thing. Shadows danced on the walls, and the scent of rain lingered in the air, cool and damp. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears, each heartbeat echoing the unspoken weight of what was about to happen. Then, an unexpected sound cut through the stillness. A familiar laugh, cracked and soft, like a ghost in the wind. I froze, heart pounding harder, straining to hear if my mind was playing tricks. And there it was again, clearer this time, warm and human. I turned slowly, unsure if I'd imagined it. My eyes darted towards the doorway, and truth hit me like a freight train. The person I'd believed was long gone was stepping inside. Not who I'd imagined. No. It was my estranged sibling, the one I'd thought died in silence, vanished into the cracks of our family's history. In that instant, everything I knew crumbled. The narrative I'd held on to, the pain, the blame, the longing, flipped upside down. That moment felt like the universe rewinding, rewriting itself right in front of me. Was I finally about to get the answers I'd been chasing, or was this just another chapter in a story I could never predict? The room's air grew thicker, every sense on high alert. What's more shocking? That the past had come back, or how it changed everything in a single blink. The flickering street lamp cast wavering shadows as I stared at the screen, my pulse pounding like a war drum. Outside, the city's distant hum cloaked my restless heartbeat, every thump a reminder that something's been missing, something I've been chasing in shadows. The air smelt of rain, damp and heavy, brushing against my skin like a warning. Somewhere in the darkness, a whisper stirs, unseen, patient, waiting. What if the truth is just beyond my reach? And what if I'm about to find it, only to wish I hadn't? I feel it creeping, something ominous. The night seems alive, stretched thin with silence, the kind that presses against your chest. Then, a voice. Quiet. Familiar. Cracked with shadows of the past. My breath catches, the stillness shatters with the sound of a soft laugh, distant yet haunting, like a ghost wandering through the alleys of my mind. I freeze, heart racing faster now. Was that real, or just my mind playing tricks? Turning slowly, I see her, the one I never thought was alive, the sibling I buried in my memories, presumed gone. She steps through the shadows, eyes cold yet longing. In that instant, everything crumbles. The past, the pain, the hope I held, that's all been upended. The universe seems to rewind, rewriting the story I thought I knew. Were these the answers I'd been hunting, or more questions dressed as answers? I can't breathe. The air thickens, every sense heightened. What's more shocking? That she's really here, after all this time? Or how one glimpse shifts everything, crumbling what I thought was solid, rewriting my future with a single glance? The night holds its secret tight, and I wonder, are we ever really free from what we leave behind, or are we just running, headlong into the darkness, hoping for a dawn that might never come? I pinched it onto my broken ribs. Not because I'd pick comfort. I knew better than that. It was earned. Every scar, every ache, it all marked my fight. Naomi's voice was a whisper in my mind, sharp and distant. I didn't answer. Instead, I kept my focus on the flickering screen. "Have we verified the IP's location?" I asked. My voice felt thin but steady. "Closest we've got is out near Rockville. Could be a dummy. Could be real. Always that possibility." My fingers pressed against my temple, the memory of Logan's last drop-off ghosting behind my eyes. "Any ping on him?" I asked, almost afraid to hear the answer. Nothing. No sign. Since his last off-book deployment 6 months ago, he'd been dead silent. That meant one of two things. Either he'd gone rogue, or someone was building a frame. Silence stretched long and tense. Naomi's voice cut through the quiet. "Harper, what if Logan didn't betray you?" I froze. "What do you mean? What if someone's making you believe he did? Maybe it's all a lie, set up to look real." The weight of that hit hard. Logan Rhee, not just a teammate, but the last person I'd trusted in a desert full of shadows. Now, his name was tangled in a breach that could blow everything up. Our careers, maybe worse. I clutched the letter, like evidence at a trial I never wanted to face. 7 years ago, my father stole my future. Now, someone else might be trying to do the same. Only this time, the stakes are deeper. I wasn't about to stay silent. He taught me how to disappear. Now. He's hiding in plain sight. The bar was nestled between a pawn shop and a shuttered laundromat. No name on the door, just that flickering neon outline of a bottle. We called it Echo, though no one ever said it aloud. It was where operatives went to vanish, if only for a night. I stepped inside with purpose. The air was thick, sweat, old wood, regrets that wouldn't wash away with the whiskey. The jukebox crackled out a 70s tune. No one looked up. Logan was already waiting at the back booth, hood pulled low, cap hiding his face. A drink untouched in front of him. In that flicker of a second, I was back in the field, knowing each other's breaths better than our own pulse. Nothing moved. I didn't expect him to stand, and yet nothing prepared me for what I saw next. Picture this: a lazy Sunday afternoon at my grandmother's house. The aroma of baked apple pie drifts through the air, sweet and warm, like a silent hug. Outside, rain taps softly on the windows. Leaves rustle in the breeze, nature's subtle reminder of how life moves on, even when circumstances seem still. Inside, the rhythmic clatter of dishes and her soothing hum of lullabies create a sanctuary of softness. She'd pull me close, her voice weaving stories of resilience, hope threading through every word, the kind of strength that outlives hardship. As a kid, I'd watch her silhouette in the golden sunlight filtering through lace curtains, the faded quilt a patchwork of memories that anchored who I was. That calm, that stability, I chase it still, driving me forward to reclaim the worth I thought was lost. Because in those quiet moments, I remembered, even when everything feels torn apart, hope lives in the smallest, most fragile places. Rain tapped softly against the windshield, its rhythmic drumming a lullaby to a restless mind. Inside, I sat in my cluttered room, walls lined with faded family photos, the scent of worn leather blending with cold coffee. I remember a night not long ago, my mother's arms wrapping tight around me, whispering promises that everything would get better. Her voice, so soothing, felt like a shield against the chaos, a soft promise that still echoes. That moment, brief but etched deep, fuels my resolve now. Because after years of rejection, of feeling invisible, I'm learning to stand. I dig into memories where hope flickered like a dying flame, and with each step forward, I reclaim my worth. In a world that tries to silence you, I'm here, finding strength in the scars, pushing through the noise. Because maybe, just maybe, strength comes from remembering how to hope again. The scent of freshly cut grass mixed with the distant hum of summer cicadas. Sunlight filtered through rustling leaves, casting dappled shadows over the worn baseball glove I clutched tight. I can still feel the coarse gravel beneath my sneakers, hear the crack of the bat echoing across fields, taste the sharp tang of lemonade on a sun-drenched day, all memories rooted deep in a simpler time. Then, suddenly, that scene darkens. Shadows creep where laughter once thrived, replaced by whispers of betrayal and broken promises. That innocence, that pure joy, was stolen, leaving me to scrape together pieces of myself in silence. But those shadows, they planted seeds of resilience. Now, I chase respect, not just for others, but for myself. Who am I beneath the scars of rejection? How do you reclaim worth when the world has turned its back? Life threw me curveballs, social rejection, family disconnect. It's a constant fight to stand tall, especially when that little voice inside still remembers the laughter fading into silence. Yet every step forward becomes a defiant echo, proof I refuse to disappear, refuse to be overlooked anymore. It's about finding strength in the quiet, in the moments where the heart feels heavy but refuses to give in. Because maybe, just maybe, resilience isn't about ignoring pain. It's about transforming it into fire. And I'm here, still burning, still fighting. Rain taps softly on the window, the city's hum fading into a distant murmur. I'm tucked away in this dimly lit room, walls lined with screens flickering like ghostly sentinels. Naomi's face is calm, almost cold, but her fingertips tremble as she reaches into her coat. My heart kicks up a beat, suddenly aware of the tense silence. She pulls out not just a tablet but a small, unassuming USB drive, like a secret housed within her palm. Her voice, usually steady and analytical, cracks just slightly, almost pleading. "It's not just the money," she whispers, eyes glinting with something darker. "It's my brother." Her words hang heavy, like a rainstorm waiting to break. She hesitates before revealing. "I've uncovered he's not just involved. He's the mastermind behind it all." The air thickens with the scent of stale coffee and unspoken truths. In that moment, all the foundational beliefs I held about family, loyalty, and the price of the truth are shattered. How far did I really know him? How much of the chaos is rooted in secrets we refuse to face? As the pieces start to fall, I realize, sometimes uncovering the truth demands more than courage. It demands the willingness to confront everything you thought was secure, and to ask yourself if staying silent is even an option anymore. A faint memory flickers. In the hush of my childhood bedroom, rain treads softly on the window, mingling with a scent of old bourbon and damp paint. I press my palm against the cracked wall, feeling its coolness, and suddenly I'm back. Those nights when rejection felt like endless storm clouds, when laughter turned into distant echoes, and silence became my only companion. It's funny how the past stays with you, layered deep in the bones of a house that saw your pain. I still recall the sharp sting of loneliness, yet also that rebellious spark, like a flicker of fire, refusing to go out. That fire's what pushed me here, to this moment, fighting for respect, for my story, for myself. Because underneath it all, resilience isn't ignoring the scars, it's transforming pain into strength, fuel for the fight ahead, and I'm still burning, still standing, still refusing to disappear. "Left," I whispered softly. Logan always used his left hand. Naomi nodded, her face tense but steady. We'd drilled this under conditions way worse than this room. Stress, fatigue, simulated chaos. Small things now, but they've become survival skills, muscle memory that no AI can mimic. Caleb, the tech whiz, spoke next, voice low. Facial mapping. Percent match. But the blink? Off. Too perfect, too steady. Human eyes don't behave that way. He tapped a few keys, cued an audio overlay. Our ears caught the scratch of Logan's real voice layered beneath the false. Access granted, command confirmed. Harper Deli audible. I leaned in, eyes narrowing. Play that again. Caleb's fingers flew, the voice, Harper D69, then cut. I turned to Naomi. He never says D, it's always Delta. Something sharp flickered behind her glasses. This wasn't just a copy, a disguise. It was engineered to pass superficial scans. But it wasn't meant to fool someone who actually knew him. The tension thickened. Naomi crossed her arms, voice cool but sharp. They're building a legend around Logan, painting him as the leak, framing him as a threat. But Logan's not the target. You are. My stomach clenched. The room's air grew heavier. They want to provoke a reaction, she continued. You're too clean, too invisible. They need a reason to shut you down. Collateral damage? Just cover. Suddenly, a voice crackled through the intercom, tense with urgency. Caleb spoke again. We traced the render used to forge the footage. Naomi stepped closer. Her eyes flicked over the screen as she read the alert. That source model. It's linked to a private cyber contractor, flagged in the Capital Forward leak, hired by Monroe Holdings, Greg Monroe. I took a step back, trying to process the implications. Logan wasn't just a pawn. They'd baited him, using him to lead me here. And now? Now, I realized, they weren't just after Logan. I was the real target, the fire they wanted to extinguish. A notification popped up on the main screen, pinging boldly. Naomi moved smoothly, opening it. A video file, anonymous, uploaded from an untraceable account. It was everywhere now, mirrored across every platform. Metadata scrubbed clean. She pressed play. The smell of burnt coffee still lingers in the kitchen, blending with the sharp sting of discarded papers. A baby's cry cuts through the quiet, urgent, desperate. Shadows flicker on the wall. Margaret Carter's trembling voice, Greg Monroe's clenched fists, etched into the cold glass of a neglected window. That moment, that ache of feeling invisible, unheard, still haunts the hero. It fuels his silent vow to reclaim his voice, his worth. See, I've learned something. Life doesn't always offer clarity, just fragments, like that faint whiff of rain on asphalt after a storm. There's a tension beneath it all, a choice. Accept rejection or push through. For protagonist, every setback carved resilience. Every closed door became a lesson, a reason to fight harder. In a world that often sees him as an outsider, someone fighting social rejection and disconnect from family, he understands this. True respect isn't given, it's earned. It's about standing tall amid whispers, about proving that your voice matters, even if the world seems deaf to it. And maybe, just maybe, that's how you turn silence into strength, rejection into a new beginning. The room's energy shifted in an instant. The screen flickered, illuminating Brandon's face, frozen in a moment of raw shock, eyes wide, jaw tight. Silence hung heavy, like the calm before a storm. Outside, the city's distant sirens grew louder, a warning layered beneath the crackle of electricity in the air. Every breath felt suspended, the hum of hushed whispers merging with the pounding of your own heart. Was it just coincidence, or was someone controlling the narrative? That image, so unexpected, so raw, raises 1,000 questions. Did they see what you saw, or is this just the start of something darker? The tension thickens. Will this revelation push Brandon closer to truth, or will it shatter what's left of his fragile resolve, leaving him more alone than ever? Every second stretches, the moment holding everything hostage. What comes next? You can almost feel the weight of it in the air. This isn't just a story. It's a call to the unknown, where alliances blur and everyone's hiding something. And at its core, an unanswered question. How deep does the deception go? The flickering glow of her laptop cast jagged shadows across the dim room. Somewhere outside, the faint hum of distant sirens sliced through the silence, an almost inaudible warning. She leaned in, eyes narrowing as static crackled, the unmistakable sound of footsteps approaching, slow and deliberate. Leather soles on marble, the echo of a chair softly creaking. Then came Greg Monroe's voice. Low, hurried, worn down by years of secrets unspoken. She knew what he was about to say. She could feel it in her bones. This was the moment everything was about to change. She watched, breath held tight, as the story unfolded in whispers and shadows. No one would question the footage once it hit the right channels. It was already set in motion, an invisible thread pulling her deeper into a game she thought she understood. But then a second voice cut through, measured, calm, cold. Not Monroe. The words hit like a punch. Let the optics do the work. She knew who that was, the architect, the puppeteer behind the curtain, and her stomach churned. Rumors had danced around that name for years, whispers of a shadow strategist who played both sides, one step ahead, always. How deep did the deception go? Was this the end, or just the beginning? Her fingers hovered over the keys, lips trembling as she mouthed one word. Architect. Suddenly, everything, her past, her trust, her very sense of reality, felt unstable. Her mind spiraled back to Ridge Point, to a mission buried in silence, a scar that never really healed. What if this wasn't just about a leak? What if her entire life had been crafted around a lie? As she backed away slowly, the weight of 10 years pressed down like an anchor. Then, just as the recording ended with a clink of glass, her phone buzzed loudly. Urgent. Tessa's name flashing across the screen. Her heart thumped, every second stretching into eternity. The game had just changed. So, what's really hidden behind those shadows? Who's controlling the narrative now, and how much more is at stake? Whatever comes next, it's not just a story anymore. It's a fight for truth, one that could shatter everything she thought she knew. Harper, you have to see this. Brandon, he was involved in the Ridge Point cover-up. I've got proof. They took my face, twisted it in ways I don't understand. My name, stained. Now they want my silence. I've got nothing left to give. The noise outside my window is relentless. Press vans like vultures waiting for the slow fall, cameras crane for a glimpse. Flashbulbs break through blackout curtains, lighting up the silence inside. And yet, this apartment feels deafening, not with peace, but with erasure. I stand before the wall, a battered shrine to clarity once. Notes, clippings, deployment rosters, red string connecting it all. Now it's a battlefield, headlines screaming out, "Colonel accused in intel leak, unfit for command." My face, solemn, cropped, screams guilt or defiance depending on who's watching. Behind me, the looped video plays, my face relentless in the flicker. I muted it hours ago, but it still pulses, a haunting drumbeat. A soft knock, almost hesitant. I don't move. Tessa pushes the door open, enters silently, hands me a worn folder. I flip it open. The Ridge Point file. Her finger points to a signature. Brandon's. He approved the cover-up. My mind rewinds. I remember the date. July 2016, when I was pulled from deployment, silently. The same month my father stopped calling. The same week I didn't get promoted. Tessa's voice cuts through the silence. That's why you never got the badge. My jaw tightens. I recall the tense moment outside my father's study. Dress uniform, hope trembling in my hands. What if all of it, everything I believed, was fabricated? What if the truth is bigger, darker, buried deeper? How much more is at stake? Who's really pulling the strings? And most terrifying, what's hiding in the shadows now? The scent of rain outside mingles with the stale, thick air inside. Dust, faded cologne, memories that won't fade. I remember hiding in the basement as a kid, the chill of cold coffee mixed with cigarette smoke curling in the shadows. Voices upstairs, muffled, like they're speaking from another world, and me clutching a chipped mug, feeling the cold seep through my fingertips. Then, a flash of a battered photo, eyes filled with longing, disappointment. That ache, the feeling of being invisible right in your own home. It clings tight, fueling my resolve. Who's really in control? Can I ever reclaim self-worth when the world sees me as just noise or problem? That unspoken truth, buried so deep, whispers, there's more at stake than I ever knew. My fight isn't just about belonging anymore, it's about uncovering the lies that hide under the surface. The shadows are thick, the stakes are higher than ever. And I wonder, who's been pulling all the strings in this silent war? The cold air clings as a faint scent of autumn leaves drifts in through the cracked window. I remember that evening, crisp, clear, the kind that makes the soul ache just a little. Outside, streetlights cast long shadows over a porch. The distant hum of traffic hums like a reminder of how much we've lost and how much we're still chasing. That night I sat there, young, eyes distant, clutching a worn baseball glove, dreaming of respect I never felt. I kept hoping, somewhere deep down, that I mattered, that I belonged. Now, decades later, those shadows still stretch long. Life's lessons echo louder than ever. That cold metal feels heavy in my hand, just like the burden of rejection, disconnect, and the unspoken truths buried in family lore. What if everything I fought for was built on lies? What if the respect I craved was just a false promise? I've faced rejection, social silence, cultural walls that try to keep us down. But something shifted. I refuse to accept that my worth is dictated by others' perceptions. This is more than survival. It's about reclaiming what's mine. The fight isn't just about respect anymore. It's about truth, about knowing I'm enough, not invisible, not a problem, not just noise. And in those quiet moments, when the city's pulse slows and the scent of rain mingles with the dirt, I wonder, who's really pulling the strings behind these facades? What's hiding in the darkness waiting to be revealed? Because at the end of it all, what I've learned is this: resilience isn't just about standing tall. It's about digging deep enough to break through the walls others build around us, to find our voice and hold on to it, no matter what. The clock ticks late. Inside this dimly lit room, shadows dance as uncertainty thickens. My hand clenches around the cold metal of destiny. Waiting. Outside, rain whispers against the window pane, a soft scent of wet earth seeping in, laced with a trace of something darker. I steady my breath, heart pounding, eyes fixed. Tonight's supposed to be about reclaiming respect, about facing the past with dignity. But then, and just then, the door swings open. A figure steps inside, familiar yet unrecognizable. I freeze. The air grows heavy, thick with anticipation, as the flickering light reveals not a ghost from childhood, but someone even more profound. It's my estranged sibling. Gone for years. Now, standing there, not just a face I thought I knew, but a transformed figure with purpose woven into every line. That moment shifts everything. The family I thought I understood dissolves into a new truth. Loyalty? Threat? Or something else entirely? Who's really behind all these masks? And what does family truly mean when everything's been rewritten? Shock pulses through me, and even as I hesitate, I realize this is more than confrontation. It's a revelation, a reckoning, that forever changes what I believed about who's really on my side. Her gaze flicked up to meet mine, then subtly darted down to her clutch. Inside it, her plan B, her contingency, the weight she's been carrying. I made my way onto the podium, feeling the room's hush, thick with tension, like everyone's holding their breath, waiting. I adjusted the mic, trying to shake off the knot tightening in my chest. Years, I began, voice steady but raw. This hall has stood for sacrifice, for honor, for truths that don't need a spotlight to matter. Murmurs ripple through the crowd, eyebrows raised, eyes narrowing. I press on. But tonight, I want to talk about shadows. The kind that trail service, that steal names, smear honor, that hide behind glass doors too thick to shatter. Then I see the glint, a flicker from the far wall, upper level, a reflection, maybe a scope. I don't wait. Logan springs into motion, tackling Greg Monroe with the force of a storm. A gasp erupts, shouts echo, someone screams. The room erupts into chaos, security spilling out, pockets of motion everywhere. But I stay still, right there, center stage. Logan's holding Monroe down, the recorder blinking red in his hand, the mic beneath Greg's collar exposed. He was wired all along. Everything shattered now, out in the open. My earpiece crackles, Naomi's voice sharp, clear. "Harper, listen!" The architect. The man in the back row, gray beard, no badge, just calm, heavy-eyed. I turned just enough to see him. No name tag, no drinks, just that inscrutable smile, the kind that's seen too much and never regrets it. No need for gunfire, no need for lies, just a truth, sharp, piercing, undeniable. And in that moment, everything changes. Because sometimes the real stories aren't shouted from rooftops. They're whispered behind closed doors. And tonight, the world might finally see what's been hidden all along. The room's silence stretched heavy, almost like it was holding its breath. Shadows danced on the walls, flickering in sync with my pounding heart. I felt the weight of everyone's eyes. My fists clenched, muscles taut, standing on the edge of revealing everything. Then, out of nowhere, a phone buzzed, a sharp cut through the tense air. Someone had dropped a bombshell, something I never saw coming. My breath hitched. The room seemed to tilt for a moment. Would I seize this crack in the armor, or let it slip away, lost in the chaos? Every nerve on fire, I stared at the glowing screen. Who was reaching out? What secret could wipe out all I had worked for? The seconds dragged. The silence grew thicker. Can I trust who's watching, or are they already too late to stop what's coming? In that pause, I knew. This is where everything changes, and I might not get another chance. The room was thick with quiet. An uneasy pause settled over the crowd, like the calm before a storm. Behind the ornate portraits of founding fathers, a flicker, just a glimpse, then the screen roared to life. Suddenly, my face appeared on every social feed, live and unfiltered. Not for a moment did I expect this. 1 second I was fighting to be heard, the next, the truth was jagged and raw, exposed for all to see. The crowd's outrage melted into something deeper, recognition. Those shadowy figures I once thought were behind closed doors. They weren't just in the background anymore. They stepped into the light. Family, colleagues, shadowy puppet masters, not just power brokers, but a tangled web of influence spun tight around us. The air thickened. Every heartbeat echoed loudly. Everything I believed shattered, and as the feed stretched across every device, silent, relentless, I asked myself, who really pulls the strings? And perhaps, more terrifying, who's been watching all along? The room feels like it's hanging in suspended time. The air thickens with unspoken truths, every surface heavy with secrets. Naomi's voice is sharp but controlled as she demands clarity, her words slicing through the silence. I watch Tessa, the trembling hand, the hard drive pressed firmly onto the table, her eyes shining with a mixture of vulnerability and fierce resolve. Outside, the city's distant hum continues, indifferent to the storm swirling inside. But here, beneath this weight of betrayal, a secret lurks, something so charged, so dangerous it threatens to unravel everything. My pulse quickens. Who can really be trusted? Who's been watching us all along? Naomi's voice cuts through again, icy and deliberate. What will they risk? What's left to lose, to finally uncover the whole truth? A quiet, tense pause hangs before she leans closer, her eyes like a razor. Are we prepared to face what's hidden in the shadows? The rain tapped softly against the window of the Quinn house, a gentle rhythm that echoed the heavy silence inside. The study was unchanged, rows of old books, the familiar scent of cedar polish mingling with something faintly musty, like stories left unopened for years. In the corner sat a folded flag, untouched, a silent vigil for a man who once believed in duty more than words. I held the letter, feeling its weight more than its size. The paper was thinner than I remembered, almost translucent, like the truth I'd spent years avoiding. Emily left me to read it. Didn't ask, just knew. My hands trembled as I unfolded it, and the words began to release years of silence. "Harper," it started, and I could almost hear his voice in the quiet. "I don't know how to begin this. Everything I wanted to say, I should have said when you were 6, wearing my old boots, saluting your mother like she was a general. You were always going to race past me. I saw it when you declined that corporate internship for the Army. Saw it when you came home with scars and didn't flinch. I feared it, that I'd become a shadow, always trying to catch up." My breath caught. His words poured out. Strength, pride, regret. "Your strength isn't loud," he wrote. "It's in how you walk into fire without asking who lit it. It's in how you stand alone when others kneel for comfort. I never told you that. You taught me." The room felt as if it had stopped. My fingers clenched the paper, not in anger, but to keep myself together. If I let go of that grip, I might fall apart. Emily's presence was silent, her gaze fixed on the letter, not on me. And outside, the city hummed on, indifferent to the storm brewing inside this room, a storm I wasn't sure I was ready for. But then, a faint creak echoed down the hall. I froze. The night's calm suddenly feels fragile. Is this moment about to turn into something I can't undo, or are we finally opening the door to truths long buried? I want to read on, to find out what's next, or to turn away forever. The choice hangs in the air. Will I face what's hidden in the shadows, or walk out and pretend I never saw? He read it aloud once, just once. She watched, silent, then folded the letter with a quiet strength she swore was more than she'd ever known herself to have. "She's stronger than I ever was," she said softly, her voice steady but heavy with truth. "She deserves better than this." And then, she put it away. I nodded, my throat tight, words stuck in the silence that followed. We stood there, just listening. No accusations, no blame. Only that hush of understanding. Later, I wandered into the hallway, past framed moments of achievement, Brandon's sharp suits, Emily's valedictorian sash, my dad's proud salute from deployment. I paused before my own military portrait, uniform crisp, chin steady, eyes locked on some distant future. Vivian was watching from the stairs. She didn't speak, didn't need to. Her face said enough. Her silence was a shield on its own. I placed my hand in my pocket and let the weight of everything settle in. A quiet resolve to carry it forward, not for them, not against them. For myself. My phone buzzed in the dark. Naomi's name. The message: "The Pentagon wants me on Veterans Day." Once quietly overlooked, now commanded by respect, a kind of fear, maybe awe. The wind off the Peatoic carried this cool, clear chill, the kind that makes your spine straighten without warning. The sun was high, unshakable in the bright sky, brass pins, polished shoes, flickering flags, like a ritual of solemn pride. The Pentagon courtyard felt both vast and watchful, like it knew who I was before I did. I stepped into that spotlight, feeling the steady weight of the moment. The secretary's voice cut through the air, words rehearsed, strong, unwavering, about duty, service, morals under pressure. They blurred together, but didn't define me. Not really. When he pinned that medal just below my collarbone, I understood it was a symbol, a reminder of what I'd earned, what I'd sacrificed, and what I still refused to let them take from me. When the applause was brief, respectful, almost familiar, no fuss, no fanfare, it was perfect. That's what I preferred: quiet, meaningful respect. No need for loud echoing, just the truth, simple and raw, standing tall in a room full of noise that I had finally learned to silence from within. Under a sky heavy with gray clouds, the crowd's murmur faded into the background. There's a quiet weight in the air, honest, almost tangible, draped in a sense of disconnection that stretches far beyond this moment. The protagonist stands alone, before the flagpole, eyes fixed on something unseen, perhaps hope or small bits of pride. The wind moves softly, stirring the fabric of their coat, carrying the scent of rain and cold leaves. Shadows of doubt flicker behind their gaze, whispering of rejection, of feeling unseen. Yet, somewhere inside, a flicker of resolve ignites, a tiny flame refusing to be snuffed out. Suddenly, the silence shifts. A visceral surge, relief, clarity, rushes over them. It's as though they finally claim their dignity, seizing it from the chaos and judgment that tried to drown it. Out here, in this open space, under the weight of history, they find a fleeting moment of victory, an acknowledgement of their resilience. The unspoken truth hits heavy, that sometimes standing alone is the bravest act of all. Silence falls, not emptiness, but an unspoken acknowledgement. This moment isn't just about defiance. It's about reclaiming what's been lost and choosing to move forward on their own terms.